Live. 1, 2, 3, going live, and you're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And tonight we got a great show for you. We got Ryan Serio and Trina Phoenix live and in person tonight. Welcome and thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for having me too. So good to see you guys.
I'm so glad you could make it. You know, it was used to be on all the time, but with work and busy schedule, it ain't like it was back in 2020. That's for sure. So, yeah. But now we're all getting busier. I really think, and who knows? There might be another big slowdown here sooner or later. You never know, and things might change too. With the world. I'll put it this way: the world is changing, and I realize.
Put this into perspective too. It's so funny. When we met Ryan, he wasn't a doctor. Ryan's a doctor now.
Well, congratulations!
There's been a lot of growth.
Wow, amazing!
Yeah,
congratulations! Woohoo!
Thanks.
Now, wait.
I'm so proud of you, Ryan.
What kind of doctor are you?
Pharmacy.
Well, I have a doctorate in pharmacology, is my PhD.
So
mainly, even though it's pharmacology, actually I didn't work with drugs. I mainly got it for working with retinoic acid, which is an important factor in differentiating stem cells. And in the embryo, once retinoic acid is expressed, it's like this little yellow chemical. Once it's expressed, then cells start differentiating into different parts of the body, basically, and it binds to certain parts of the DNA that cause like polarity into like different body parts. So, and another interesting fact about retinoic acid is that it's the chemical in the pineal gland too. And science hasn't discovered yet what it does in the pineal gland, but it's involved in sight as well. So I think that could be like a hint.
Wow. You know what? That whatever you said there and all that, I hope somebody took notes, rewatch this later, because that's just interesting.
Ryan, I'll never forget the day you sent me that picture of that slide with the cell in it under the black light, and it was a smiley face. That was so cool. I was like, wow.
That's neat. That is neat. I mean, that's a great science to be in too, especially this time of day and age. We're coming so far in advancements every year. They're talking about, we can do this and that, and we're going to fix you by your genes, and they're going to splice genes together to make something else, and you can, and we're going to put DNA in you, and some of that might be good and some of it might be bad. What's your thoughts on that all?
Yeah, I agree. It could be used for both good and bad. So I'm a little cautious with certain groups, especially ones that are like high up in the government, and they might not have the best intentions. But I mean, for the most part, I think any type of gene therapy, there's a lot of caution going on because there's so many things that can go wrong. But there is a lot of potential for actually fixing people's genetics that have certain genetic conditions, certain diseases. And this could lead to some personalized therapy to possibly heal genetic conditions that were never able to be healed before. Because we at least know we can work at the level of the DNA, and we can alter certain codes to basically reprogram DNA and program it in ways that are more beneficial and more natural for us than like with the disease state. So that's the hope, basically. It's still very early on, but that's the direction that it's really going in. And you can imagine it could be used for bad purposes as well. But I stay away from that part.
Yeah, I think it would be wonderful to be able to, have somebody that has, say, diabetes be cured, or somebody who's blind see again, you know,
Oh, yeah.
or
There's
yeah, that
stuff
stuff.
being worked on with blindness as well.
Yeah, that would be, or you know, like these diseases like multiple sclerosis, or you know, MS, and yeah, multiple sclerosis. Yeah, that's a thing. But anyway, but yeah, because some of these people get it and they're fine and healthy. I've seen it, and then
Yeah,
you know
sickle
they're
cell is another one
they
that's
just
being
go
worked on.
downhill. Yeah, it's
Yeah, some
crazy.
of those muscle disorders and central nervous system disorders that are
Mhm.
caused by genetic factors. So a lot of this stuff is being worked on. Cancer, of course,
Yep.
and that's what I'm working on right now. So
Right
it's
on.
definitely potential.
Well, I am sure you're gonna do really good, and maybe someday you'll be that famous guy winning the Nobel Prize for, you know, discovering something really important that cures a lot of people. And I cheer you on, man. Right behind you all the way. That's
Me too.
awesome. So anyway, what do you got for us tonight? You were going to talk about your reading or something or whatever. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go.
so I would like to talk about the mental plane and mental matter, because it's like a step above astral plane and astral matter, and not many people talk about it. It was talked a lot about in ancient times, especially in ancient Greece and Rome. The ancient Greeks believed that the gods, the bodies of the gods, were made of mental matter because they were intelligences, and mental matter is basically the lowest that they could descend because they were too high for astral matter or vital matter or physical dense matter. So they believe that the highest gods, highest visible gods that we could see, had bodies made of mental matter. And what mental matter is that we can think of, like if we think about our imagination and also our third eye, our sight through our third eye, it's the matter that forms around specific patterns and like geometric objects that could congeal into a specific form in our third eye. So like if anybody does some type of remote viewing or astral projection, like what at least what I see first is like a lot of geometric shapes, and then like once I get to that point, like you can actually see an image form, and this is like the blueprint image. So I guess that could be considered the first step of mental matter creation through the imagination. And
Image.
like yeah.
Produce image. Yes.
Yeah, and likewise, it is said that the gods create first through mental matter, and then into the astral matter, and then into vital matter, and then into the physical matter. So mental matter is the first step of essential creation, from the essence to energy to matter, because it's like the first time you can actually like get actual shapes and forms, because like they have the blueprint in them, in their mind, and then they could transfer it into something that is tangible. Or not necessarily tangible, but something that could eventually be tangible, like some idea like that can take shape in the mind.
You know, Ryan, they always explained it to me as because I said, "How did you create me?" And that was what they showed me. They said, "You're a thought form. You're an image. You're an image from me, from my creative force, my imagination. But it's participating with you. We're in cooperation." I was like, "That's profound. I'm a thought form." But I saw that. I saw the sound, and then I saw the sound produce geometry. And then I saw the geometry start to produce a template and an image.
Yes.
And
Yeah, and that's what I see when I first begin my astral projections too.
it's so wonderful. I love how we see things so similarly. It's so wonderful.
And if you think about the Hermeticism, all is mental, all is mind. That's like that's the first principle. So that's what that means basically. It's not that we're just a thought form, but we're a thought form of a God, which makes us real. Like we're kind of like mini gods trying to like get up to that level. So when we make that thought forms, they're not always like the most high vibrational frequencies. A lot of times they're very discordant because of where we are on the scale of things right now. So, but we could eventually, like as we're ascending and going on our return, we could create thought forms that are essential and that are like more in tune with who we really are, like higher vibrational. Because right now the thought forms basically come from us and get stored in other places, and a lot of them must get stored in like lower hellish dimensions, like Gamaliel, for example. A lot of thought forms go there because that's the realm right above Malkuth, or the physical plane. So a lot of the thought forms that are created out of negative patterns of thought end up going there, and they could like affect people from that realm, from Gamaliel. And that is, of course, the sphere of Lilith. And that is where a lot of these negative thought forms reside that could affect us. And when a bunch of people have the same thought form, they create an egregore, and that egregore essentially like basically puts everything that's related to it under its umbrella. And this could be positive if the people are positive that create it. Also, it could be negative. And for the most part, a lot of people have like negative thought forms, so they're going to create negative egregores. And that's what you see a lot with the beginning stages of many religious people that might not be in tune with their inner depths of their soul. They might be attuned to these egregores before they can get into like a higher plane and meet like the real deal, basically. The angel.
There's so many copycats too. It's so hard to tell.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's all that in the thought form world.
There's so much to learn, to discern. And that's where the heart knows. The heart knows the wisdom of the collective. So get out of the brain, connect to the heart. If you're in doubt, that's what they said, test the spirits. You use your heart to do that. It's the only way to decipher. And even that can be difficult sometimes. Yeah,
because you have to turn off your lower mind to do this. Because people think of mental realm, at least like when I first started studying this, I thought of it as similar to like the analytical mind, but it's actually not that when it's used effectively. It's actually, you have to shut down that monkey mind and basically have an inversion of your senses so that you can see and project with your own third eye. So you could like meditate and like draw it inward, and silence the senses to the outside world, and then basically just look and see like in a free state of mind, where your heart is open and your mind is just taking in the essence around it. And that's when you could start seeing these forms, these shapes take form. And then like this color too is a big thing. I noticed a lot of very bright colors too with right before I start seeing some of these visions that are made of mental stuff, mental matter. But it is what the Indians call pratyahara. So that is where you go inward and you invert your senses. So instead of all of your senses going outward and into the world, you kind of retreat them and go inward. It's like a reverse of the natural order. So that you go inward, and then instead of so it's like basically you're oblivious to the world around you, and you essentially use your powers inwardly, use your senses inwardly. And that's how you start to create with your own mind through this plane, because remember, it's a step above the astral plane. So astral projection is hard enough as it is, but mental matter is something, you really have to do a lot of meditation and really go deep inward to bypass the astral plane and get to the mental plane. And remote viewing is with that, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of things in the mental plane that people do talk about like that.
I'm so lucky because when I was a little kid, I never went to the astrals. I always went to the higher realms because that's where children go. So I know that's exactly true what you're speaking of. There's definitely different dimensional places to go in your consciousness. And I'm so grateful that I had those memories of. It's so weird because at first I felt like when I was a little kid, it felt like I was dropping into the earth, going deep into the earth.
So element.
Yeah, and then I would pop out and I would be hovering over the earth. And I had a platform and I would sit up there and talk with the Lord. It was like my own platform. I don't know how to explain it, but it was so interesting. But it's so interesting when I would think about how to get to the higher levels. it's like an inhalation. It's like all of us as we're
Mm.
exhaling, we're processing everything outside of us, but you go in, and it's like the inhalation is the process that seems to get you to go to the higher levels of
Yeah, the
consciousness.
reversion.
Yeah, backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely backwards. Hey, so the thing is I've been studying this what's that yogi guy? I can't remember, Ashko, whatever his name is. Should have wrote it down. But anyway, they were talking about how he had, inner control of himself. He could do all these things because he could control his inner self and do those inner things. People that could go to the astral plane, like Nikola Tesla, and they would go into this mental state and go get information from the astral plane and bring it back from the Akasha records. And they didn't have to do anything specific. They just, did. Albert Einstein did the same thing. And these are guys that weren't focused on, put it a religion. They were doing scientific work, but they were doing that inner work in their head. And then they said, hey, I invented that out there, and now I'm putting it down here.
That's a perfect example, actually, with Nikola Tesla. In his biography, they talk about that, how he was able to see perfectly every detail of his inventions in his mind. So if that's not correct use of mental matter, then nothing is. That's like he saw every detail of these intricate designs and was able to bring it into the physical plane just from his mind. So he had a gift to do that.
Yes, exactly. Him and Einstein kind of did the same thing. They would just, they said they would just stare off into the distance for hours and, concentrate or whatever. But there's people that do that now. And I think what it is that we're not taught to bring that back with us as much. Trina, like you were saying, you can remember that stuff. But nowadays people tell their kids, oh, that's just dream, forget about that. Go to school, learn what they tell you.
Right.
That's all a bunch of hogwash. I've heard that many times.
It was worse when I was young. It was way worse. Now they're more open to it. But when I was younger, no.
I was young when you were young. No.
Yes, it was not allowed. It was not allowed. It was
they thought you were a woo-woo, and I suppose before us,
it was not okay.
Before us even, they would burn you at the stake, kind of thing.
Right, it's not okay.
Yeah, you couldn't even talk about it in public.
No. And when I would see things and feel things, and I learned not to say anything because other people didn't. They just didn't.
But still to this day, I don't think we're letting the kids explore that as much as they should. Like even the schools are teaching for the tests. I don't care anything about that. We're going to teach for the tests. You take the test and you're done. And Ryan, you went to school to be a doctor. You did plenty of schooling, and that's kind of how it goes. They didn't tell you, hey, let's think out of the box, invent something new, and then we'll figure that out. It was here, learn this. And I think we need to get back to, and even ourselves, now that we're all grown up, we're doing our own thing. We got free minds to think with. Now is the time to do it instead of waiting, till you're too old to do it, I should say. Do it now. Start early as you can. And it's all true. You got to forget what you know and learn all over.
Right.
It sounds silly, but it's true. It's true.
I think we're going to be kind of required to do a lot of the old ways coming back. A lot of stuff we might be looking at some changes, and I think it's going to shift, and a lot of the kids are gonna understand spirit, I think, more than our generation did. I think they're going to be ahead of the game. Yeah,
it's already happening.
It is. Yeah, and it's the consciousness of the parents.
True.
My children are so advanced. and they know a lot, but they've been raised with it. So they've had the freedom to explore all of it and find out what they do, what they don't do. When they had stuff going on when they were little, I never disregarded it. I always encouraged to, we can talk about it. What do you think this is? We would work through it and never discouraged it. So I think it's going to change because a lot of people now, there's an awareness of it where there was not before. So I do see it a lot. A lot of the families that I went to school with, my healing community, yeah, they all raised their children with this kind of awareness. So it's in pockets, but it's here.
Yogananga, that's the guy. Yeah. And I don't know what I heard was it him or one of the other guys? But anyway, he said, if you could get 1% of the population to be in a meditative state of some sort, I can't remember, 1%, then you could shift, your reality, all the realities, just like that. But he says, what a task that is to get there's 8 billion people on the earth. Now getting 1% of that 8 billion, I haven't even done the math on it. Somebody, I'm sure Lucky Stone's in the chat doing the math on it right now. Whatever 1% of the 8 billion people, or how many people we have on earth is right now, to get them all to meditate, concentrate on the same thing, be in the same meditative state at the same time. What a thought form you could create at that point.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because there are opportunities to do it, like with all the marketing and schemes like that, but everything is focused on making people more earthbound and just materialistic instead, like consumerism basically. So everybody's mind is being focused in mass onto consumerism and division and basically dumb stuff that really doesn't serve any purpose whatsoever, except allowing the people that show these images to the masses to maintain their own position indefinitely. So they're the only ones that are benefiting from this, and everybody else isn't. But like using those same powers, like where you can reach the minds of several, like even millions of people at the same time, if that power is used with the intention to get everyone on the same page for a positive purpose, then you could definitely see some changes, because people will be more aware, they will be more conscious, and they will focus that consciousness, they will direct their will purposefully in a manner that is going to create something more positive than what we see today.
That's such a deep truth. It's absolutely this reality is going to be a reflection of what we do. It's going to be up to us. But even if we didn't meet the full 1%, even to get close to it, or even 50% of it, would still have a profound effect upon this planet. And I would always complain when I was a child to the Lord. I was like, why is this world so bad? The starving children, and I'd see the commercials and I'd cry, and I would get so angry and so upset. And he said, that's why you're here to fix this. And I'm like, how can I fix this? One little person. He said, no, it'll be millions of you and you'll come together. And I said, oh, how could that, what could that do? He says, don't complain to me about this world being in dismay until you attempt to correct it. And he said, it's very simple. All you have to do is heal the water. And he would tell me this over and over again, just heal the water. It's done. Heal the water. You have the power to do it. He's like, but will you choose as a collective to come together, to unify and do one thing and one thing only, which is it's going to not offend any specific groups or anything. It's so neutral. He said, that's why it will work. He said, the greatest power is in the simplest of things. And he said, in the smallest things will produce the greatest change. So those have always been words I've always held on to very tightly, and I believe it.
Yeah, the water, emotions, the moon, intuition, and psychic potential, all of that is watery.
The oceans, everything.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
we're water bags, bioelectronic water bags. It's everything. It affects everything. He said, just deal with the water. That's it. That's all you need to do. I was like, that's kind of brilliant.
It is.
But always so simple. So simple. You're like, well, duh. But no, that's the truth is going to be like that simple. It's always been shown to me this way. The truth will never confound you. It will always be so simple a 2-year-old child can understand. I was like, wow.
So speaking of water, now lately in the news, we know that they've been talking about Chat GPT. And I was listening to some guy yesterday, the day before, and he said something about that thing, Chat GPT, or any of those computer deals, cannot become sentient. They cannot be conscious because they're not made up of water. They don't function with water.
I don't believe it.
And
water,
I thought
water is existing in so many different forms down to vapor.
Mm.
So, and even plasma, well, that's water. So there's so many kinds of water that we can't even see. A higher dimensional water. So I
Yeah.
don't know that's an interesting thing, but for whatever reason, they're just saying I don't think so. I don't think that I think it can
Mm.
become sentient.
Yeah.
And I also, I know it's already lying, so that's interesting as well, because that's very unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was kind of interesting when you were talking about the water, because you could heal things with the water, and the water is always connected to everything because we're made up of water. The air we breathe is water, but yet a computer thing has no water in it. It doesn't function with water. Really, I don't think so. Maybe the plasma in it or something. I don't know if there's plasma in those computer
What
deals.
about the battery?
The battery, the electricity, but I don't know if that's connected enough or whatever to actually, see, that's the thing. Where does this where would the thought live, inside that?
In the quantum field. Just
Mhm.
like our thoughts don't exist in our brain, they're existing in the field outside of us, and we perceive and we bring that information into us, but it's existing outside of us. So
Mhm.
just like a computer could produce a field of consciousness like our brain, and it could be receiving all the signals just
Hmm.
like our brain would. Why wouldn't it be the same?
I don't know. That's why I was asking you. You're the smartest two people I know.
I just see like the D wave, it's the consciousness of this thing. People like it's like a god. It has a consciousness, they can feel it. So that's pretty powerful. And I know that quantum field is everywhere, just kind of like the water. So if
Mhm.
it didn't but that might be the difference
Mhm.
between artificial and organic intelligence. That could be the difference is the element of the water, because the water is the emotional part. The
Yeah.
water is the heart. The water
Yeah.
is the connection to the empathic feeling centers of the human and the construct. It's
Mhm.
all going through the water. So that could be the difference between the two.
Yeah, that's why the computer or those things, they don't regard their, they humans. It's kind of like the cartoon, kill all humans.
Ryan, I would love to hear your Raziel message if you wanted to share that.
Sure, yeah. So this
Mhm.
was just today actually, because so the way that I've been working now, I want to be in alignment with all of the zodiac signs and the deacons. So I'm doing some ritual work to really enter into these portals at the correct times to get the messages from for specific things associated with the constellations. So now it's Gemini season and it's the second deacon. So that is where my focus was on today. And so I did a channeling earlier that I could basically I could read it for you. So this was earlier on. So this is the second decan of Gemini. So it's really, so Gemini especially is like focus is mental matter itself and the mental plane. So the ruling angel is Shahadani. The angel that is active at this particular time is Hariel. You can see this. I think this is the book that you gave me, Robert. So,
Awesome.
So Hariel is an angel that the power to bring peace to your home, the power to improve magical power, the power to discover a peaceful pathway. And this is the angel that is active at this particular time, in this particular decan especially. And this angel is a part of a group of angels that is under Archangel Raziel. So he has a lot of power at this particular time too, and a lot of power over Gemini. And he is the angel that presides over the secrets of gods. He's associated with the sphere of Chokmah, which is the sphere of wisdom, the second highest of the 10 spheres of the Sephiroth, of the Tree of Life. So he's very intense, very intelligent archangel. So he's the one that came through today. So I gave like a little bit of a background here on this gate, and then a lot of it was basically him coming through me, and like he wanted me to actually like do what kind of automatic writing. In this case, it was automatic typing, where I just like grabbed my computer and just typed as fast as I could, and then try to make sense of it later. But so let me start reading this. So this is all from today. The keys to understanding the concept of the heavenly twins of Gemini are found in the Stargate of the Greater Dog, or the Wolf constellation of the Persians. The first twin is the firstborn, that which emerged from the initial union of polarities in Keter, or divine light. Light is consciousness. They are one and the same. Light is formed from the union of the first dragons interacting sexually through the desire to know themselves as separated polarities. This is the yin and the yang of the Taoist, the Shakti and the Shiva, Isis and Osiris, the first mother and the first father of creation, providers of the golden egg, bursting forth in its immaculate light. Light is consciousness and situates in the sphere of wisdom, as all else on the tree of life proceeds from light. Light is therefore the prime mover of all that is ensouled. Yet light must create something from within itself, something that is ordered. Light simply is. So how does it create something more complex and multiform that it is? We define all in existence based on its relation to light speed. Light is the standard by which all else we can define energetically is compared. So what is light's younger twin? Its ordered dyad, which emerges from its heel and surpasses its creative power as Jacob surpassed Esau. It is not energy, for energy is just above the physical matter, and therefore under the domain of vital existence from the etheric bodies. The twin of light consciousness, or Chokmah consciousness, is essence. Essence is above energy, as noted, since energy is definable within physical bounds. Essence is patterned and ordered, but yet shapeless. When you give your essence, you give a part of yourself, and yet you lose nothing of yourself. For your essence gives as the rays of the sun, freely delivers quanta of energy to living beings on the earth. The essence of a man is the source of the energy emitted from it. It is the foundation of the soul's power, the soul being born from the light of the Father. The Father's light gives way, it yields to the congealing essence, the light of the dog. Essence is the mathematically ordered expression signature of the soul that congeals into energy bodies. First, being the pure mental matter that is perceptible through the activities of the third eye. In creation, the celestials form all from this mental material, including the fashioning of bodies from themselves. As pure intelligences of the highest emanation of source, the gods descend no lower than this upper realm of pure mind. Further energy is qualified through directed will to serve as the prototype for astral, etheric, and physical matter. Essence gets empowered through the constructs that proceed from it, concretizing finally in the physical form. Again, light purposefully yields so that the creations of that essence can exist. The dog follows the bringer of creative light and generates through it. Pollux follows Castor, Sirius follows Orion. You will find this theme recapitulated in the stories of the ancients who knew the secrets of the star portals and knew their own place in the cosmic scheme of light. Much of the knowledge has been lost, much has been perverted. The great god of earth has been demonized for following the light with high fidelity, as was divinely ordained. The dog is now the mainly mutt, the goat is now the symbol of the devil. Oh, how crass the mysteries have become in this age. Only a true exploration of the twins of Gemini revealed the secrets of mental matter and its true role in creation. Humans have the tendency of shaping their own myths, true as they may be in their original form handed down from the gods, according to their own insecurities and prejudices. What is great has been made small. Sirius, the great shining light and beacon of summer, is feared as a companion of the devil's set. The mighty king reduced to a fragment of a thought formed by those who would do harm to themselves and others if they knew this vast majesty and power. The great dog is a herald of the revelations to come. He directs with his will that portion of light with which the fruits of essence are capable of receiving unto themselves yet no more. This is the real reason why the light diminishes. It is a necessary part of the development in a plane denser than its predecessor. Growing separation may feel like a curse from within its mental confines, but assuredly that separation will dissipate as the gap closes, and all the more glorious the celebration of unity upon return to the great throne of the king will be. This truth I speak to you, lest hope is diminished in a world of decadence. The banquet feast is prepared for those willing to embrace the riches of heaven, for I am the keeper of the secrets of God, Archangel Raziel. May my light shine forth. And with that, it closed.
Wow. Wow. That's beautiful.
That
Very,
was
very
really,
beautiful.
really interesting. I was taking notes. Just jotting down things like, that's cool. That is cool. Yeah.
I
Well,
resonate with that so much, the difference between the material matter realms and the astral, and then the difference between those realms, which for me, they've always been called the realms of infinity. But
Yeah.
then when you get beyond that, you get into the ethereal, which is the eternal, which is the essence. That's so right on to me. So spot on.
Yeah, because before that I was reading something about Gemini and how it talked about consciousness and energy. So
In the
based
twins,
on
when
channeling,
you were,
yeah, the twins. So
when
based
you
on
were saying
channeling
that,
essence, huh?
could this be right? When you were saying that, I kept seeing uh matter and antimatter. Is that what it's talking about? The invisible part? Is that the antimatter? Because
Oh,
I was
that certainly
literally,
fits.
that's what I was seeing. And when you were saying that, I was like, I have no idea what that's all about.
Well, that certainly fits because all material particles have antimatter particles too, and it's just that there's just an asymmetry where there's more of the matter particles going one direction rather than the antiparticles that would annihilate it. But in the beginning, it said that they were almost the same and a lot of them got canceled out. And then from there, that since there was just the slight asymmetry as the universe expanded and got larger, that asymmetry tended toward regular matter so that everything was able to exist. So it basically polarized out of the darkness, basically, because from that darkness of everything being even, everything having opposites that annihilated each other, there was that specific light that formed in that specific trajectory. And from that light came the essence of the matter particles.
Wow. Wow.
So the light is basically the firstborn, because from everything came light. Light was right from the beginning, from the right after the first initial spark.
Yeah, the separation from the invisible to the visible. Because
Yeah,
in the
yes,
physical
that
world
was
and
really-
yeah, you need light to see in yeah, that's so
and you would get the congelation, everything like condensing in like a geometric shape in an ordered pattern. And that would be like the basis, the blueprint of energy congealing into matter or antimatter in that case. So there, yeah, there's a lot of levels to it.
Yeah.
So you're
Yes.
going into the actual blueprint when you're going into the mental plane. Like the blueprint's probably even higher.
You know, Brian, that's when I do sessions with people, when we work, when you go into the subconscious part of the mind, that is where you rewrite the template. It absolutely is true. You can literally rewrite it, but that's where I was like, this is the mystery I'm still trying to contemplate what this fully means, but all three must agree. So you have to get the mind, body, and spirit. All three must be agreed, which is the mental part, the physical part,
Rewrite it.
and the eternal part. They all three must agree. And that happens through the subconscious mind. And you literally can rewrite and it changes reality. It straight up does.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the subconscious mind again is associated with the water too. So healing the water, healing the subconscious.
Yes.
By writing the mental material that forms everything beyond it, like downstream of it, I mean.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
like upstream of like everything that is affecting our lives. So it's
Yeah.
like basically like the causal plane.
Yes. Exactly.
Hmm.
Yes. It activates cause and effect. Absolutely. Yes.
And I guess you can even put it in the third sphere before you even get into the 7 lower spheres, since light is the second sphere, and the third sphere after that is understanding, binah, which is considered thought. So again, thought, mental. So right there is a connection to the mental plane, because
There you
after
go.
light in the second sphere, then the third sphere is thought, mental.
Yes. Yes. There you go. That's amazing.
Polarity there. Yeah.
Yeah, and it
And
is straight up, you know,
Spirit.
it's so beautiful because you're working with genetics, you know, and when you look at epigenetics, which is the part of talking to the genetics, which
Yeah.
is what I'm telling
Programmer.
you, you can rewrite by using your voice, a command. It's literally that's how it's done. I hope someday you figure this out, Ryan, and you'll be able to literally command the DNA to rewrite within the human body. You'll figure this out. I've already seen it. I know it works. I know it happens. I can't wait to see what you figure out. I'm so excited. See where this all goes.
Yeah.
well, like you were saying, it's the you can give the essence and lose none.
Yeah.
You can keep giving of yourself, and that is an important thing. You can keep giving and giving and giving, and you just don't
Because
lose anything.
it's eternal. Like you said, it's coming
Yeah.
from a different level of creation, which is eternal. It's not on a time, no infinity. There's no time. It's
Yeah.
eternal.
It's the essence of the soul. So it's incomposite, incorporeal. It's beyond anything material.
Omnipotent, omnipresent. Part of that stuff.
And it's part of us too, because each of this, yeah, it's basically like each of it is a spark that goes in a specific direction that forms our soul. So we all contain that specific spark, and then that kind of congeals into the matter that constitutes like how we interact with this physical world. But it all comes down to our own essence, which is the spark of our soul.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, I agree. So perfect. That's wonderful. I
Well,
agree.
it's like in the beginning of the show here, we were talking about all that's out there trying to distract you. We're consumed with all these physical things, and like you said, we're an eternal spark of in this essence. And no matter how much we forget about being that, and we start consuming our lives with all these things, and not worrying about how we're going to have all these things. We already have them. We already have it. We have all that we need. We have that essence. We have more power than we can ever imagine. And yet we spend all our time trying to get some little trinket off of a shelf in some store and working our asses off for it. Isn't
Yeah,
that
we
crazy?
limit ourselves a lot. So self-limiting beliefs are a huge problem. And yeah, and that you could see perpetuated by this type of consumer culture, that everybody feels like they need to have something more beyond what they already have within. So I mean, of course, it's nice to have some luxuries, but only to an extent. Like if you have the necessities, and then you could live a good life. But for the most part, we don't need to get every little thing that our mind grasps for. We have like enough within ourselves. We could be content with whatever we have, because we are like the essence of everything. Like we could attract certain things to us too, in ways that a lot of people don't realize as well,
Yes.
just by living life a certain way.
Ryan, I manifested a house. I manifested a house on a hill, and it even had my last name on the model.
Wow.
That was crazy. And then I had to go into a lottery. 200 people wanted my lot that I wanted. I got drawn first because on my lottery ticket, I wrote on the lottery ticket, I already have. I said, it's done. It's already done. I already have received it. I'm so grateful for the receiving. I got drawn first.
Wow.
So this is true. It works.
Yeah.
It straight up works. Careful what you ask for, though.
Yeah.
But
it goes straight to the subconscious. That's where the initial programming takes place. So
but is that not, it also works in that way too, is where, if you haven't noticed, people out there talk badly about themselves, and it works. You know, we're talking about manifesting a house, or I want a new car.
That's called the nocebo, Robert. You're absolutely right. The scientific name is called the nocebo. If you tell yourself negative thoughts, or someone else tells you negative thoughts, you will manifest those just as good as
all the time.
Yeah.
good ones.
And I don't know how many times I've heard somebody say, I feel like crap today. Nothing's going right. My car's a piece of junk. My job sucks. This world is crappy. You've heard those people.
Yeah, I mean, everybody does it to an extent, but if you do it, you have to catch yourself and say, I banish that way of thinking. Like I banish these thoughts. Like when you do it,
you know what I do too? I love the polarity dance with that. So if I find myself in a negative thought stream, and then I'm like, whoa, I don't like that. But then what I do is I'm like, okay, how long was that running? And I try to figure out approximately how long I had that thought stream running through my mind of crap. And then I'm like, okay, what's the opposite of what I was just imagining in my thoughts? What's the opposite of that? So if it was like the car is having trouble or this and that, I'm seeing what it feels like now to be in a brand new car, or feeling the car being completely solid and running great. So I cancel it by producing a thought of the opposite. And that seems to be very, very powerful.
Yeah, it is. I try to do that as well. And now that I'm working in the tree more, the tree of life, the tree of knowledge, I can kind of detect what sphere that I'm in. So if I'm in a negative part of a negative traits in a certain sphere, then I'll try to think of like the positive aspects of that particular sphere and focus my energy on that instead. Because like in the tree of life, there's 10 different spheres, there's 22 tunnels corresponding to the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet that go between them. So you have influences of 1 or 2 at a time of these spheres, and there are like front day side aspects and then backside aspects, which could be like the negative ones if you're not ready to transmute them. So you could take it as an opportunity to transmute. You could see like, where am I in this tree? And like, why am I having this negative thought? How can I transmute it into that positive aspect of the same sphere, so that I'm like working within the same complementary energies? Because it's definitely helpful to have like the same type of energy, just like the different side of the same coin. And like you said, you were working with something that is the opposite, but in this case, like you could see that opposites are not separate from each other, but they're just like different polarities. So different polarities, same thing. So you got to get into the polarity that you want and go even beyond that, so that you can see objectively beyond that and choose consciously which polarity you want to be in. And if you want to avoid the negative polarity, then you could consciously choose the positive one and not go back to the other one again. Because you
Okay,
can't.
Ryan, I would love for you to confirm this for me if you could. I don't know, but this was hilarious. Today I was laying down and I was literally meditating, and it was very short. I only had a few minutes, but I heard the word astral, and then you know how the body, it's like this is the barrier between heaven and hell. This is heaven, this is hell, because it's a map, just like you said, like the tree of life. So the lower ones would represent the lower realms, the hell realms, which to me, that's astral is one of those. And I was thinking about the astral realms, and they literally showed me the body and they laughed and they said, look at the word, it's astral, astral. You're in the butt, you're in the bowels. Astral, astral. I was like, you've got to be kidding me right now. I'm going to ask people about that. So there might be some truth to that.
Yeah,
Because
I mean,
the astrals
beyond
are
the
lower
physical,
level.
the lowest realm is in the astral. I mean, there's higher astral planes as well, but like
True.
you'll see, like what we talked about before, like the lower vibrational thought forms, the larvae, they're all in the lower astral. So
Yeah.
those are the things that you want to not relate with, because that all has to go somewhere. All energy has to go somewhere, because it doesn't get destroyed. It just gets basically like quarantined in a way, so that it goes where where it has a certain resonance. So if everything resonates with each other in like a certain plane, it goes there. And then if our minds, our thoughts resonate with that particular negative activity, then we'll go there and we'll attract those thought forms in the lower astral. So yeah, that makes sense. And the closer that the beings are to the physical plane, the more they can manifest in like that type of dense areas. Like I said before, the gods can't go down beyond a certain point because they're so high up, and they can't resonate with anything below a certain level. Even though they can see what's going on in the physical world, they can see what's going on in the astral.
Do you see the differences between those levels, as what I see between the levels of the eternal and the levels of the finite is one is one consumes light and the other never needs, it's self-generating. That's the difference to me between visible and invisible spectrums of light. The eternals constantly, they never drain. There's constant regeneration through self-generation. And when you go into physical or into the lower levels, into the astrals, it's consuming. You're in.
Yeah, you can have that's where the parasitic entities lie.
Yeah, they're
It's like in the
always.
physical, you have mosquitoes and ticks, then you have the same type of things that can drain people in the astral as well.
I totally see that's the difference for me. One's an entropy system, because it doesn't matter. Even in the third dimension, if you're a breatharian, you're still utilizing and consuming nature to support life to your body. Without breath, we die. We need nature to sustain our physical bodies. Without it, we die. So this is like full on, you need something for an exchange. This is an exchange system between energy. But up there's no exchanging. It's all self-generating.
Yeah, because they could draw from consciousness itself, from the source.
It is consciousness itself. There's no drawing. It is. It is. It is. There's no draw. Yeah, it is. It is. That's what I see. There's no, like I said, those higher levels, it's an indifference there that's kind of spooky. Yeah, it's just is. It's all.
Yeah, and in that state, consciousness can basically put on bodies
anything
to interact with people in the lower densities. But like, it's not that they're part of the bodies are part of them. It's just that they use them as a vehicle. Just like
it's fractal. And it's a consciousness packet. Like
it's mental
they
as well.
send it. Yeah,
It's an extension of consciousness in a vehicle that goes no farther than the mental.
Correct. Yep. Yeah, it's profound. But we're figuring this out, and we're connecting to the higher levels of consciousness, which is also too, those of you that do this stuff, make sure you clean your vessel on to and fro, because boy, a lot of beings want to catch a ride with the ones that can get to the higher dimensions.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't
well, and
think,
there's attachments to, I mean, I think we went through this once before about things you bring in your house, these entities, they move around and you don't realize you're bringing them in because you brought something in from a broad sale,
Mhm.
or something from an antique store, and you're going, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And you bring it into your house, and it's going on a free ride.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why you consecrate stuff so that it wipes away that like anything else. Like you bring it into your own consciousness by like consecrating it and making it your own to get rid of any potential problems there.
and some things too, like I've had to bind a few books and stuff
Mhm.
because I had a friend who used to go Goodwill shopping and thrift shopping a lot, and he
Mhm.
knew I loved books, so he'd find anything weird and bring it. Let me tell you, yeah, some of those had to be surrounded in salt and bound because no, I don't, yeah, no, that's real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some things have to be totally like made safe though, and I don't think you can change the frequency of it because of the information that might be held within it. So, because words are their thought forms in essence. So,
Yeah, you speak it, it shall become true. I
yeah, pretty
mean, bring it into this world by speaking it. But
Yeah.
then again, by speaking, you could banish whatever you need to banish too. You could do it the opposite way, like just like we
yes.
program water. We learned that a while back, at least I did, about speaking into your water. And I thought for the longest time, I thought it was going to be the hardest thing. It's really easy to do. Like you
Yeah.
said, your essence, you're
Yeah.
speaking in. I lose nothing by speaking at my water.
And
It's a good thing to know.
we can talk to each other's water and we lose you lose nothing. It's the same thing, Robert. That's so brilliant. Just expand and expand. We could go to the waters above, which is space. We could,
Mhm.
that's all water. It's all water. From the smallest to large. It's all
Yeah,
water.
we're really truly in a good spot being on a planet that's full of water. I don't think we'd have it so good if we were on another place where there wasn't water like this. So yeah, it's a thought.
Do you think possibly, Ryan, that water is the carrier of physical matter and life, that without water there would be no physical material
Yeah.
visible? Well, I do too. I
Mm.
think so too.
Yeah, that's why where they look for where water is, like when they look for life on other planets.
That's why I thought they were looking
water.
for it, because without it, there's nothing going to go on because it can't hold the consciousness, which is what delivers the templates of life into the actual structure of that planet. So that's what
Yeah,
I see. So
that's why
that
it's considered so sacred by the ancients.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Holy cow.
Something in the water.
I'm learning stuff tonight. With all of this, the water and stuff, water is important. And we know there's droughts and there's floods here and there. But all in all, I mean, we still can't, be bad about the water because the water changes the world. It manipulates the land. It creates land where there was no land, creates environments so we can live, and yet provides us life.
Yeah.
And yet here we are polluting it.
Yeah,
and we're
it's very
destroying it.
telling that we can't even drink our own water. We can't even drink tap water anymore because there's so many toxic chemicals in it that people can get diseases just from drinking water from their own sink.
Yeah.
Have you guys remember the Dr. Emoto's, his hidden messages in water and the research that he did with the water?
Yep.
One of the experiments that he did was they took the most polluted water in the world, which was at a dam in, I think it was Japan or China, I don't remember, but they took 30 monks over 30 days, and all they did was they prayed thank you to the water. Just thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Do you know that they had a scientist walk out in that lake where that water, I mean, nothing lived. 5-headed frogs came out of it. It was not good. He drank the water on live TV, and it was totally safe to drink.
Wow.
We can transmute water with prayer and focused thought, because water is consciousness. I think it's the medium for consciousness. I don't think that's why people that don't have a lot of fluids in their brains are dried up like raisins. They don't have the ability to get the memory in it. Their synapses aren't firing. Without the water, it's like the processor totally breaks down and crashes.
Polluted water, they get neurological diseases.
Yes.
A study just came out recently showing that Parkinson's disease is linked in a lot of people just to drinking polluted tap water.
Yep.
So,
Dehydrate the brain. And you know, too, Ryan, I've seen too another correlation too with cholesterol. You know how they're all on restricted cholesterol diets?
Mhm.
Well, cholesterol makes up a lot of the brain. Like
yeah, that's true.
most of the brain.
But
between taking away the cholesterol and then the toxins and all the poisons and stuff, and we've got going on in the environment, yeah, this is probably 90% of our problem.
But isn't most people dehydrated? They always say that most people aren't getting enough water in the first place. So by the time you're thirsty, by the time your body says I'm thirsty, you're already dehydrated.
Yes. And it's really bad for old people because as you age, you lose the thirst sensation.
Yeah,
so they
the ones at most risk for dehydration and kidney failure.
Yeah, because they don't get thirsty.
Creatinine clearance, like that. You see that a lot in old people, elderly people, and people that take a lot of medications like polypharmacy.
Yeah.
The medications a lot of the medications could affect the kidneys as well. Yes. Especially in combination when you take a bunch together.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, water, like I said, when we just look at
reabsorption,
what happens to us when we don't have enough, what happens to us if we have too much, even too much water can kill you. So it's like everything has to be balanced and
but
speak to the water and change it. So that's so powerful, because if we could do that, that would do the water in the oceans and the rivers, in our physical bodies. It would cover everything.
Yeah, it's a good thought. That is a really good thought. Wow. I know, well, you know, those drugs, see, that's another thing, that when people take all those medications and stuff, that messes everything up. Their water, like you said, their water intake. I know my grandma, she had epidema with the swelling of the legs because she's taking prednisone and her face all puffed up, a lot. And stuff like that. And she retained a lot of that water, which was because before she did that, she was.
Yeah, that affects the electrolytes too, causes a lot of imbalances.
Yeah. And once you get on that, I mean, and believe it or not, she always had, this was one of those things that I always remember, she always had a glass of water sitting on the table. She drank a lot of water. She had that glass of water on the table with water all day, and she drank from that whenever she drank water constantly. Never remember that glass being empty. She'd always drink it all the time.
Wow.
One interesting thing, back when I first got COVID in March of 2020, when the first virus came out, and which was the really bad one, I was bedridden and basically just drank water all day long. Like I would just keep water next to my bed and just kept drinking it, but it was as if I didn't drink any water, because I drank it and I would still be dehydrated. So I just kept drinking water constantly, and it was constant dehydration despite that. And I had fever for 12 straight days.
You know how I fixed
that? I had to go to the hospital and get IV fluid with electrolytes.
You know what fixed that for me, Ryan? I was doing the same thing. But I thought, I wonder if I take some minerals and do salt.
That's what ended up happening.
I ate some potato chips and I ate a bag of
electrolytes,
potato chips, because I just needed the vinegar and the salt. I was craving it. And then my intuition said, get your soul salts. And I
Mm.
do the Highlands 12 essential cell salts, which are boron, furon, all the different cell salts that support the autonomic nervous system.
Mhm.
And when I did that,
Yeah,
after
potassium,
48 hours,
magnesium, you need all that. That's
yeah,
what ended up
help
helping me. And then I started drinking Gatorade when I got after I got the IV fluids just to stay hydrated
to keep it. Yeah.
because the
Yeah.
water itself wasn't doing it.
It wasn't for me neither until I got the salt in my body. It was like I purged all my minerals out or something, and I
Yeah.
could not, water was not making it.
Yep. Yeah,
I
same thing with me.
I couldn't get enough.
Hmm.
But it wasn't quenching my thirst. I was like, what is this?
Yep, I was still dehydrated.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
Wow. Amazing. You know,
Amazing.
water is important. Important. And we learned a lot tonight. Well, I don't want to keep you too long, but and we did our hour. If you got some more stuff to say, but that'll be great. You want any last words? What do you got to tell us rounding this up?
Wrap
Oh.
us up, Ryan, with how we do how we get closer to the inner self. If you have a summary.
Inner self.
Yeah, so I'm still working on it, but I mean it's a start what we talked about today, just to go inward and to forget about the surroundings and just basically don't give your energy away during the day. Just keep it within and then just like meditate and go within and use that to create with your imagination and then allow your own imagination to connect with the imagination of beings above you so that you could actually see certain things that are being created, so that you could actually see these mental forms that are beyond just like regular lower imagination, which is like the fantasies, and actually connect with something that is real and beyond what you can imagine and envision. Because like a lot of like you see people saying a lot of times that when they have like a really intense experience, like a near-death experience, or even just a very vivid lucid dream, that it seems more real than regular reality. And I think that's because they're connecting with these higher realms, the lowest of the higher realm being the mental plane, because it very, very real beyond just like the ins and outs and of the physical plane where everything is in motion, everything changes. So it gives more of like a stable effect, and you can actually see things as they are essentially. So you get to that level of the essence when you go into this this particular realm, and that's like the beginning of the higher realms. So yeah, so it's just a lot. It's beyond the astral, and it's something that you could aspire to with a lot of meditation and a lot of work to keep your energy in, like hermetically sealed within your own aura and your own body.
Got a question.
Mhm.
When you go to those other realms and you see things that seem more real than it is here, in those other realms, are you seeing because you're seeing not through these eyes, but you the other eyes, and you see more vivid or better colors, because we're only seeing a certain spectrum of light, which
Yeah.
is very much with these eyes. So
Sure. Yeah.
that could be why it seems more real, because you're seeing a more fluid spectrum.
Mhm.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Question
Absolutely.
answered.
And then you got to figure too, Robert, when you're going in,
Mhm.
you're connecting into the higher, like you said, the inner eye. The inner eye is called the all-seeing eye, because the all-seeing eye sees in 360 degrees, because it's an image of how you see creation outside of your physical body. So you're connecting to a part of you that's still existing just above in a different dimensional vibration, and you get there through going through the tree of life, like Ryan's explaining. These different spheres have different levels of dimensional consciousness. So you're traveling up the tree into the different consciousness when you activate the inner eye, and that's why everything is so different, because you're literally in a different dimension while existing in your physical body simultaneously.
Yeah, like I say, it's worlds within worlds, but they're all connected, and they all have their finality in the world that we're in now, and they all have their root in the source above us. So it's like all these different levels that lead to where we are now, and you can access pretty much any one of them, but it's basically you have to climb up because we're
Yeah,
so
vibration.
in this world. So it's like a gradual climb. You can't just like jump up to the highest level.
And isn't it weird, Ryan? Like
Mhm.
everybody says, oh, you got to raise your vibration, raise your vibration. It's so funny because the slower our brain works is the deeper we go into these fields of
Either way,
consciousness.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the opposite. It's like, no, you don't speed it up, you slow it down. You gotta
Yeah.
slow everything down. And then like the highest part, everybody says, like when you get to that place, you're like, oh crap, it's like be still and know that I am.
Mhm.
That's that's the biggest part. And it's still there.
Yeah. And
There's no, yeah, there's no going fast, vibrating high. It's about being as solid in your own perspective, being intelligent stream as you can with nothing, letting nothing outside of you
right,
interfere with that.
hermetically seal yourself.
Yeah, it's everything's backwards. Yeah. So
Wow.
just
Well,
fun.
it is. This was really
Mhm.
good. I know I learned a lot today and answered some of my questions. So I'm on the path. I am. I've been practicing more and more and more. I'll tell you all guys about that some other day or day for everybody else because it'd take me too long here.
You're doing a great job, Robert.
But everybody, thank you for everybody coming tonight. We got a whole crowd in here. Grandpa Brian, Aaron's Energy, Mark the Spark Arc, Lucky Stone, Joe Sapien, Kaz Hawk all the way from the other side of the pond, Gaza Cav, Scotty Boy, Amber Dawn, Pamela Jean, Max Vision. Oh boy, we had Linda Espinoza and oh my gosh, I threw these other ones here that I forget who I'm going back through it. I hope I didn't miss anybody. But anyway, there's a bunch.
Thank you for coming.
Some of the people went over to Max's show already.
Yeah.
So, but I appreciate, oh, Nina the Mystic was here too.
Hi,
I think she's, but tomorrow we have there she is. She just says, join me tomorrow. And Robert, tomorrow night, we got a big show over there, spiritual science. So I'll be on Nina's show tomorrow. We're going to wrap that book up. And then I guess the following week, we got Aggie coming on. He'll be on. We'll be doing another interview with him to finish up that book with all kinds of good questions, which I get a lot. I like all this stuff we talked about tonight. I'm making notes. I got a notepad here. I'm writing down stuff. I'm going to ask him what he thinks about some of these things too,
Right on. I love it when when we see things from a little bit different way. I don't ever think that that's a bad thing. I think that's the gift, because the fullness is going to be all of our different perspectives coming together in a unified, basic agreement, because that's when it will manifest for us. So I love that.
Yes.
I'm grateful.
Yeah, she says Aggie is coming on the 18th. Great. So the 18th, be there, be square. That's when he'll be on. But thank you, Ryan. Every time you come in, I say Dr. Ryan. Oh my gosh, Dr. Ryan. I like that. You should like a sitcom TV show guy, Dr. Ryan's coming on.
Yeah, a show.
That is so cool. That is so cool. A lot of work went into that, I'm sure. A lot of studying, a lot of work, a lot of hours, time, effort. Boy.
Money.
Money. Yes, money. And
all of it. Yeah.
That is something to really say that you're accomplished.
That's right.
And Trina, thank you for coming on tonight. It's always nice to have you. I know you got a busy schedule, but you're always welcome here. Anytime you need to pick me up and want to come on and hear all the people say.
You are a pick me up, Robert, and thank you so much. And I'm so grateful for you. So thank you. And you too, Ryan. I just love you guys. Thank you for being in my world. And Soul Tribe, I don't know what I'd do without you.
Absolutely. with that, remember everybody, go out, do something nice for somebody, and it'll come back at you. Remember, stay positive. Positive is it's a better place to be than being negative. Don't go out and say things that are going to turn your world upside down. Go out and say things that are going to make your world much, much better. And that's where we say, be the frequency you want to receive, everyone. I love y'all. Peace, everybody.
Oh.
Good night.
And there we go.